Hello and good evening again. Here we are, ready to start off this show hot and heavy. Whoa, something just happened. Starting off this show hot and heavy. Of course, I did a short video on my take on Stranger Things and how I thought Vecna should just slime them all. I still hold to that. But of course, TikTok, my favorite app in the world, there's just a few videos we need to observe. They just, I just love it. I love when people are funnier than me. But I also just love content that's just great content. So let's check out a few videos kind of parodying or making fun of the most recent episodes of Stranger Things. And here we go. Locked away with free. Okay. It's the comments. When they want to waste screen time to promote their fruity frickin' agenda. And the first comment is a picture of Will saying, I like D. I will never understand Netflix obsession with sexualizing characters that are supposed to be children. True. And not to mention, it's kind of weird with like the whole Vecna, whatever the thing is that he pumps the fluid or what, I don't know what the heck it is that he pumps into these kids. It's kind of weird. And Vecna waiting for Will to be done with his speech. Okay. I am fruity and I skipped it. It was so forced. Yeah, it was forced. It was insanely forced. Will and Robin by far the worst characters in the show. And that's kind of the thing, like when you start, I'm not going to go too long again on this, because I've already done a video about it, but like when you're trying to, none of it feels natural. Like we know what you're trying to do. We know the propaganda you're trying to give us. We know, okay? And then you put these, like Robin, I liked Robin's character in the first season she was in. And then, of course, she's got to be fruity, right? And it's like it's how they kind of create the romance of their fruitiness and of their gayness. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And like this timing of this with Will, the timing, I don't understand. I know they, who mostly runs this stuff. Who runs? We know who runs Hollywood, different things, and why they put this stuff into the shows. But you're really taking away from these shows by doing that. Like I don't know if you just don't want again, you're just going with the crowd. It's cool to have everybody gay or have black characters. We don't need black characters or interracial relationships where they don't always be interracial relationships. Like you're forcing this stuff again. Like you can make it natural, you can make it work, and you can have really good actors that are their character is tainted by this backstory you've now given them, right? And so it's just like, stop doing it. Like we're done. We've been done. We've had enough of it. While we're at it, there's one more I gotta show here. Okay, just a second. We got another video here.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
I love this meme. I love this. I don't even know where this came from or where that's started rooting for Vecna at that moment. And it's I'll clip the I like D. It's just, maybe I shouldn't, but it's so funny. It ruined the show. Hop knew it would and didn't join that scene. Last of Us was also, oh, I know. I stopped watching Last of Us, like, I don't know if it was the second or third episode. Whenever Fruity McFruity Pants, libtard, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude like that, because like I said, I'm not on either side anymore. But when I can only think of him from Parks and Rec, Ron Swanson, and there's an uncomfortableness we sit with, okay? Like, it's uncomfortable to see some of these scenes. It's uncomfortable for us, and that's why, like, I guess that's your Holy Spirit. That's your Christian radar going off of, like, I don't want to see this. Like, when God talks about, I think it's in Romans when he talks about they gave up, what was natural. There is a natural and an unnatural thing, order to things, right? And I'm not saying that there's not some genetic disruption. And I tie that when people say, like, oh, I was born gay. I think he was born with that temptation. He was born with just like, but I also think it could be connected. And I'm not saying, I don't know. I never used to give that credibility when people say that, because I have a hard time with the, where's the gay gene, right? You may have an inclination to that preference. And I think that, again, hormones and things are disrupted from, again, this ties into everything, ties into our food and how they poison us. And I think there are things that get most certainly disrupted and mutated that might change your hormonal genetic makeup in a way. And so I guess I give it a small possibility, right? A tiny possibility. But again, at the end of the day, there's no gene for it. And I think a lot of it is trauma based, and a lot of it is, just confusion and psychological damage. I'm not speaking, I don't know. But anyways, comment. We're all exhausted by it. Yes, we are. We are tired of it. We're tired of you ruining good shows because you have to force this in here. And it's like, it doesn't, like, I'm even trying to think, like, I used to watch the show Friends, and I think Friends was one of the pioneers of introducing gay characters, right? Oh my goodness, I can't even think of. Oh, it was Ross's wife. His first wife was gay, or left him for, and they made it comical. They didn't make it like they're trying to romanticize it now. I feel like in every show, every movie, they're trying to romanticize it and normalize it to an extent of, like, it's just when it's not a normal thing. Okay, it's not normal. Now, you might know, everybody knows people that are. Everybody usually has, not always a family member, but you've got somebody close to you or within your circle that may have a family member, it is becoming more catching. Again, it's this romanticization of being gay, and what comes with that. And this person, I'm all for inclusivity, but that scene was not important for the story, and we assumed that about his character a long time ago. Yes, they implied it in the beginning seasons, the whole time, like, oh, he's different. Joyce is always talking like, well, he's different, and we know you don't have to create a whole dramatic scene, emotional scene during the towards the peak of the show, or it's supposed to be towards the end of the show. Now we're going to have this great reveal. We already know. So yeah, it was stupid. The memes are deserved. The mocking is deserved. It's funny. It's hilarious because it was stupid. Okay? So yeah. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I already did a whole video. But I just love TikTok because, again, it's like, wow, yeah, I know. We're all thinking the same thing, right? We may not always be in alignment with, in the world with how we operate, but we can watch something and be like, yeah, that was stupid. Even the liberals in the comments, or the leftists, or the, fruity pebble types are agreeing. They even agree. So, yeah. Anyways. But on today's show, and I know I've been kind of pumping these out. I've been, it's Christmas. I've been off for a week. So, it'll eventually slow down, I'm sure. But I always like to start off with some laughter. That's kind of funny. And there's another one. I was making sure I'm not muted. There's another one I wanted to start off with because, again, I like to start off with some funny things. So if my parents ever decide to watch this show or tuning into this, I'm sorry, but this is so true. So for those of us with parents or even grandparents or whatever, this speaks so true. And here we go.
See, the thing about raising your parents that's hard is you want to pop them. Because I'm tired of having the same conversation over and over. How many times have I told you? Okay, and they was popping and whooping us. But now that I got to parent you, now we can't pop. Now it's time to gentle parent your parents. No, because y'all don't know how serious I am. I'm tired of having the same conversations over and over and over again. That's a scam email. Okay? Nobody in Nigeria want to send you nothing. They don't. Why would they pick you? And I done told you the first time. Ain't no prince in Denmark trying to get you nothing. And take that medicine. Because the doctor done said it, and then you be woozy, and then you got a headache, and we keep having the same thing over and over. I'm not going to take you to the doctor if you're not going to listen. If Johnny had 5 apples.
If Johnny's got 5 apples. It's funny and it's not funny because I've even discussed this with my parents a little bit as far as like them getting scammed. I'm sorry, it's probably not the most appropriate shirt. But them getting scammed, I'm like, you guys are done for. Like, because AI is getting so out of hand as far as the realism. But like I see it, especially with my dad, like the ads and just not being able to recognize a scam. Like I remember, again, I remember generations. Like I remember my grandma getting scammed and my mom having to tell her, hey, that's fake. That's a scam, you know? And now it's coming full circle, right? And the technology is getting more advanced and it's more confusing for these people, for, you know, especially older people. And because why are you clicking on them links in the text message? How are you going to owe tolls in New Jersey and we live in Texas? I told you that was AI. Morris Chestnut, he's a black person, so of course, and Morris Chestnut, hey, he's a great actor. Morris Chestnut ain't messaging you on Facebook. I don't want to make fun of people that I know personally because it's like, you know, but like there's this person on Facebook that like during Jennifer Lawrence's comments. I think he thinks Jennifer Lawrence is actually talking to him because you see it pop up on your feed. I'm like, Jennifer Lawrence is not talking to you, but they think they are. My mom bought weight loss earrings from the internet. Well, guess what? My dad bought an ab belt back in the day. We joke all the time. Dad, if you ever watch this, I'm sorry. This is all in good fun. But he bought an ab belt. You know, you just place it around your stomach, watch TV. It's going to get you a 6-pack abs, baby. We talk about all the time. Like he's going to have a graveyard of supplements and different things, fads that he's fell for to make you lose weight or get in shape or whatever it may be. And don't get me started on the AI videos. They think everything is real. I know. Idris Elba did not send you a friend request. My mom has had her credit card info stolen 12 times in 2025, and honestly, I'm tired. Yeah. So, stop buying stuff, Mom. So true. My mom's a sucker for all kinds of. Yeah, she's a consumer for sure as far as buying stuff. But it's just, I thought that was funny because again, it is getting more, because it's getting difficult for us. Like I consider myself pretty aware and pretty in tune with, you know, current events and things and scams. Obviously, I'm not some, you know, high intellectual person or claiming, but you know, us younger generations, we're kind of in between. Like we're not Gen Z. I can't operate things as well as even my nephews, and like as far as, you know, navigating an iPad and stuff. Like, you know, we know we are not that good at that, but we also know that like we're somewhere in between. And in my opinion, it's kind of the best of both worlds because we grew up with the technology, right? We was kind of we was introduced to it and we watched the evolution of it. Right, we went from dial-up internet to high speed, and we've had to adapt. We've had to adapt to these things pretty quickly. I mean, even getting this little setup and stuff. Like, I mean, I thought it was gonna be more difficult than it was, and it's really not that. Once you get into it, it's like you can adapt. Like you can start creating and kind of getting in tune with that stuff pretty quick if you need to. The problem is we don't always need to, but we also understand. Again, the age that didn't grow up on technology and we understand the age that's all we see is technology, and we're somewhere in the middle, right? Of having the tech, and yet, having to navigate those worlds in between both worlds. So, okay. So what I wanted to really talk about today. So let's watch this first video. That just, again, I appreciate this person. I don't think is an old world person. So let me get that straight. I don't think this guy's an old world like type. That's not his content. But he's like flying a drone, and it's just amazing. And then again, as you watch this, think. You need to, when you see these things, you need to think, okay, about the scale, the size, the source, the tools, the technology of the time. How are they able to do that? How are they able to, and again, think about it today in relative terms of what we do. Do we make anything even remotely close to this? I don't even want to, I think if cost was no issue, could you replicate this? And I'm telling you, you can't. We don't build like this. We haven't. You can chat GPT it. You can look it up. We do not build like, everything's modern nowadays. And it's just usually it's a disgusting take, right? Of what is defined as modern. But anything that is this ancient stone, this copper carved, brass carved statues, pillars on top of huge buildings that have pillar. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. So, anyways, let me just quit talking. Let me just show you the video. I could almost watch that again. Like I've watched it a couple of times. At first, I thought it was AI. When I first saw it, I'm like, that might be AI. This is, again, I'm like, even though I've seen so many old world structures, I think it was just the way it was created because he used a drone. I haven't seen. You're used to seeing videos from the ground and different things. It was the way that it was created that was just, it's unreal. And again, connect the dots. These structures, this structure is particularly over in Rome, I believe. I didn't verify this. It was in the comments somewhere. These structures, these white stone, marble, copper structures are everywhere. They are everywhere. If you haven't, you need to watch some John Levi. Okay, go watch some John Levi. Or John Levy, I think it's Levi. I don't know. The most amazing content on a lot of these, where they're at, they're everywhere. They may even be in your own town. There's a good chance, or in the town over, you're going to find these Richardsonian Romanesque buildings because they're Roman, and Rome was all over the world. And once I do a deep dive on the railroads, you're going to find out the railroads are the exact widths for a Roman chariot wheel, Roman chariots to fit on. Are you saying that the railroads were built by Romans? Possibly. And then again, we co-opted the narrative. We went in. Can we make railroads today? Sure, we can, because we have an existing thing to work off of. What's funny is we have existing buildings to work off of, and we still can't build those buildings. Railroads they're not as intricately detailed as a structure like this. And so yeah, it's in the comment. This world is 1,000% not what we think it is. To have no idea what's going on here, Matt. Insane building, insane detail. I mean, look at the statues. And again, it's these buildings that the pillars and stuff are so high up. And when you have, when you start looking into these structures, again, it's the time frames. They're always built around the same time, and always in a short window, always in a short period of time. Okay, so let's watch this other one, and then we're going to dive into what I kind of curtailed off of today. Oh, wait, before we do that, I'm sorry, I know I'm going all over the place. There's a video I wanted you guys to see because, again, you have to. I don't know if you guys are getting this news. I don't watch CNN. I don't watch Fox. I don't watch any of the crew because we know it's a bunch of crap, right? It's a script we've been given. They've been given. You know, you've seen the videos where every news station's saying the exact same word for word. We know who owns it. We know who runs it. We know who controls it. Therefore, we don't trust it, right? So I've been seeing these pop up, so I wanted to share this, and it's about this Somali owned child care centers where they're receiving millions of dollars in funding, and it's just complete fraud. There's no actual child care centers. It's just a way for money to be laundered. In Minnesota, where I think it's Tim Walz is he the governor maybe? But let's watch this video. This guy who's doing some, again, actual journalism, actual reporting, boots on the ground reporting, and calling these things out and bringing attention to it. Whether you'll see it or not, I don't know. But guess what? You're going to see it on the show today. So let's bring this up before we dive into the other old world structure.
Children here in your child care?
Which child care names? A lot of
Minnesota Child Care right here. It's from the state of Minnesota's website. We're just wondering where the children are.
Where the children are?
Yeah, where are the children? It says you have 102 children here, and you got $2.66 million this year in funding, and $2.5 million last year. We're just wondering where the kids are.
And who are you?
My name's Nick Shirley.
Nick Shirley.
And where are you? Which department?
Oh, we are from ourselves.
Yeah.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going. Look at that. Shut us down. Where are the children at? No children inside of this daycare center. And look, at this daycare center right here, no children inside of this daycare center. But between those buildings, over $2.6 million.
So there's a couple other videos as well of him talking about this. And yeah, it's terrible that, again, here's an example. If I lived in that state, you should be irate. We should be irate in general with how much money they're stealing from us, how much they keep us a slave to the system. But this is just one example, I'm sure, of thousands of fraud that goes on and how money is laundered and how money is filtrated to certain people. Like, I'm currently watching Ozark, and I'm sure a lot of that is actually true. You know, we know that the U.S. allows certain amount of. We think we're here to like control the drug cartels and different things. You're gonna find out our country allows a portion of that. You ever watch Lord of War and different things like that, where there's a certain allowance of that because it's money. It's a way for people to fund different, maybe a political agenda, right? The whole premise around Ozark is basically, or not premise around Ozark, but obviously they're laundering money, but you're going to find out how it connects to politics as well. And I have no doubt that's a way as well. Besides, obviously like AIPAC and different lobbyist groups like funneling money. But in the comments it says, raise your hand if you're tired of this crap. These jihadists are planning to take over our country. The enemy's within. Put Walz in jail. Minnesota's a freaking joke. I blame the useless government. There are no children. Right. Again, they're receiving millions in funding and not a single child in these daycare centers. And then he exposes on a couple other videos all these different other child care centers and I think like medical facilities, and there's not a single person there. And they're all receiving millions in funding. So, yeah. This is the type of crap that you should be angry about. This type of crap that you should be upset about. This type of crap that you should be exposing and talking about to bring attention to. And thank goodness there's guys that have this type of diligence and effort and time to expose this and honor. That's why I talked about, why I'm trying, I'm starting to create this just to be another voice, whether it reaches 10 people or 1,000 people. It's to bring attention to some of these things, right? It's to talk about it. It's just to let's quit suppressing this stuff under the rug. Let's quit. Like, I see people talking about, like, oh, would you guys quit talking about Charlie Kirk? It's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? If our government, which I know is involved in that, and another foreign countries involved in that, like, oh, that's what they want. They hope enough time goes by that you just forget. And we're forgetful people. We stop caring. What's about the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And they get to, meanwhile, as they keep deceiving and lying and killing and stealing, we just forget. Time goes by. Again, we're busy. Time keeps going by. We don't care. We don't care. Okay. 27 minutes in. I'm going to try to make this episode a little bit shorter than the last one. Hopefully, we'll find out. So here it is on the St. Louis Fair, World's Fair. And obviously, there's all kinds of World's Fair videos out there. You'll find so many people now talking about the World's Fair and how what a joke it was to tear down all these buildings. First of all, they supposedly erected these buildings all within a couple years or less than a year, and they weren't permanent. But yet there's still a couple permanent ones remaining, and the rest of them they just all tore down. They just tore down. They just wasn't. And when you see images of these World's Fair, these buildings are insane. They are absolutely insane. They were not temporary buildings. They were most certainly permanent structure buildings that we found and tore down. Because luckily they've kept some around, but if you find out how much they've burned, how much they've buried, how much they have intentionally destroyed or set fire to. My lunch break has all kinds of videos on the fires across the world of destroying these old world buildings because they're trying to cover it up. They're trying to cover up the history. Because we're starting to put these connections together finally. But anyways, here is... Okay, so I could not get the St. Louis World Fair, but there's this other video I seen that I wanted to bring up. And it's, again, the timing of this building. And let's take a look. This is from Old World Revival.
Old World Revival. Take a look at the Home Depot on West 23rd Street in New York City. It was built in 1878 in just 5 months and 1 day. It was originally built for the Stern Brothers department store, and they completed this masterpiece in just 5 months and 1 day. Not 2 days, 5 months and 1 day. With their horse and buggies, their hammer and chisels, they didn't leave out a detail. There are lions, there are faces, there are symbols all over this building. If they could do this in 1878 in 5 months and 1 day, why can't they do it now?
What a fantastic point. If they could do that in 1878 in 5 months, why can't we replicate something like that with today's technology? And again, I guess I'm assuming most of the people that are going to be paying attention to or watching any of my content, we're in this space and we understand. But if you're not, again, this is 1800s. Okay, this is cowboys and Indians. How many westerns did your mom or your grandma watch growing up, right? They're going into these little saloon towns. And guess what? That's believable. Like, that makes sense. But what's funny is in these saloon towns, go to the city of this state, and you're going to find nothing but palaces and Richardsonian Romanesque buildings and Egyptian-looking buildings. You can go to cemeteries and find Egyptian-looking and Roman-looking structures in the cemeteries locally. It's crazy. And it's crazy to think that we did this in a time, yes, with horse and buggy, yes, with copper chisels, yes, with hammer and chisels, yes, with no really good means of transportation. And usually they're like, they quarry the stone. Again, just think about how they had to source the stone, quarry it. Think about communication. This is not you just, dial up and say, hey, I need some stone delivered here. Let's load this up with a forklift or, load this on this truck and then dig this foundation out with an excavator. And then let's carve up this stone with this laser technology we may have, or this, carbide bit we have, or carbide saw blade we have that, or they didn't have that. Okay, so everything was done by hand, supposedly. And again, think about how long it takes. Like, I've been around. My dad was a mason, not a Freemason, but was a mason. He grew up around, and I've seen some guys that know how to work some stone, as far as working a block, working a brick. But that's base, that's it. Block and brick mostly. Yes, can they do some cool things with it? Can they make arches? Yeah, sure they can. But it takes a lot of time, and that's a small material that takes an extreme amount of time and precision and math. And then again, but most of these buildings, these are huge stones that most of the times you're not going to. I've never seen anyone that I know personally carve anything. Any stone guys I know, and I know, and there's I'm not trying to knock. Like, I know there's that's a dying trade. I've not seen anybody carve like this, make anything even close to it, especially locally. Because again, you're going to find that most of these buildings are supposedly built by local contractors. Find somewhere where generations were passed down of this talent. You're not going to find it. You are not going to find it. It's a lost art. It's a lost art. Guess what? It was never our art. We found them. It was never our art to begin with. Think about it. So anyways, wanted to show you that video. There's so many. I mean, you could watch old world TikToks and YouTube videos all stinking day long. But I wanted to hit on some of the St. Louis World Fair. So, I'm sorry, I was actually make sure my mic's on. Here we are at the St. Louis World's Fair. A massive event celebrating American expansion, technology, and culture in Forest Park, attracting nearly 20 million visitors with grand palaces, the first American Olympics, innovations like the ice cream cone, and controversial anthropological exhibits. Most buildings were temporary, but the fair left a lasting legacy, shaping Forest Park's layout and leaving structures like the Art Museum. But it's funny, the structures like the Art Museum are permanent. So we made some permanent and we made some temporary. Well, let's look at some of these images, which is just unreal. Like, again, you look at these photos, right? And they look almost like you're looking at something that it honestly angers me because of knowing what this used to be, right? Knowing what this used to look like. Look at this. Look at this. You see this building right here? They tore that one down. That was a temporary building that had the largest pipe organ in the world. They did remove it. It's in a Macy's. I think that Macy's closed down, but it's in a Macy's. But this was the festival hall, I believe. Unreal to look at this. St. Louis World's Fair. Look at this building. Look at that. And they tore these down. And I want you again to look at the level of detail. Look at the level of detail and tell me that we were building this. We were building, look, oh my goodness. St. Louis, Missouri. Look at that. And you look at the chariot on top. Was that chariot temporary too? Was that a temporary chariot? It's funny because, again, at the tops of courthouses and different things, you see a lot of these. We just saw a chariot in one of our videos earlier on top of that massive structure, a bronze chariot. It's unreal. And we're no longer buying just the temporary setup. Like, look at these, and we're gonna obviously get into what they were maybe used for, oh my goodness. It sickens me sometimes. It makes me sick. knowing that we tore these down. Unreal. They had to cover up the narrative, right? They can only give us a portion of the narrative, but they had to lie and cover it up. So here's a Ferris wheel or something right there. Wow. Wow. And look at the people. Look at the scale. Look how tiny that person is in scale to this building. And you're going to tell me that it's a temporary looking building. It's the same exact color stone of all the other buildings and the ones that are still standing. And this is the type of nonsense that they give us. The Palace of Transportation, illuminated. That's the other thing. We're going to find out a lot about free technology and electricity and maybe the cover up of that, right? You know, we can't have free resources today. We got to keep the money. We got to keep the wheel spinning, right? Oh my goodness. So yeah, look at that. Look how tiny that person is in the scale of this. And we believe horse and buggy people built this. We believe people that built cabins, presidents that were born in cabins, that time period, built these structures. And guess what? You'll never find a photo of them building it. You won't. It's unreal. It ticks me off also. In the same regards, it really ticks me off. There's that festival hall again. We're gonna dive into that. That festival hall was supposedly temporary. It's funny, it's in like every photo. It doesn't look temporary at all to me. I think they said it spanned. I go back to it. I think it spanned how many acres? I want to say it was over like 1,200 acres. Yeah, 1,200 acres of land. 1,500 buildings being built on 20 acres of land. I love Reddit and Quora and different things. You can find some good information. All connected by 75 miles of roadways and walkways. All achieved in 3 years of construction, which is absolutely unbelievable. Honestly, a monumental achievement in construction and ingenuity. Puts any present day construction effort to shame. You know why? Because he didn't freaking build it. They didn't do it. They found it. They then showed it to the world. They then tore it down or destroyed most of it to cover up because they realized, hey, what is this? And if you're new to this, you're going to be like, well, what do you mean they found it? Oh, that's a story in and of itself. You just wait. It's unreal. So anyways, in this World's Fair, I looked at the organ at, let me see if I can find it, Macy's Center, Festival Hall. So here's Festival Hall. Again, we've seen a lot of pictures of it. Here's the organ. Here's an interior picture of Festival Hall. Yeah, it looks temporary, right? Garbage. Garbage story. We appreciate it though. We appreciate your diligence to try and cover up all this crap and then destroy it. You friggin' liars. So anyways, but I went into, it's now in Macy's, this organ is, and there it is. There's the organ in Philadelphia. It is closing, and again, we think this is a Macy's company built this. They built this structure, or I would hate to even look that up if they actually think this was built by a Macy's contractor or something. No, we found it's another building that we have cool. Just like the Home Depot. The girl in the video talking about it was a Home Depot building. Like, it's ridiculous. We know Home Depot didn't build that. 5.5 months. Get out of here. So anyways, but the organ I found interesting. So I wanted to look into that. And I came across this website. And this was really, really neat. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Masurgia Universalis. It's this Jesuit, Athanasius Kircher, to examine one of his most famous volumes of his works in special collections. Published 2 volumes in Rome in 1650. So there's some depictions in here, and again, as we know, a lot of these artists rendering, a lot of the statues and the images on these buildings are connected to Rome, are connected to ancient occult. Could be paganism, could be their gods, could be their mysticism, and it could be most certainly reality. Like we see these griffins and we see these different animals and creatures, and and dragons, and we're like, you know what? That was probably a thing. Those probably existed, and that's where they're getting those designs and influence to put on these buildings, satyrs, gargoyles. So, looking into this, what I found, there's a lot here, and it's kind of more like Apollo sun worship type thing. It says a triangle at the top of the symbols of the Holy Trinity, which I don't believe is more of an Apollo. There's a lot of sun worship, obviously, in ancient Rome and Greece. But I found this interesting. It said that Kircher held the medieval idea that music is a reflection of the essential mathematics and proportions inherent in all creation. So we talk about frequency. We're going to be talking about frequency a lot and how that affects our cells, affects our actual structure. If you've ever seen a video of somebody, showing sand and how different frequency can make the sand very harmonic or very, cymatic patterns and different things. There's certain frequencies that are very good for us and certain frequencies that are very bad for us. And there's certain tuning also as well. So I found it interesting that he talked about it being inherent in all creation because, again, frequency and sound is, we don't talk about it enough, but it's part of our creation, a part of this world, a part of so many things. And, it's also a very Masonic, cult mysticism type, because there is an energy exchange with everything. You see a frog on a pond and you see when it's making its noise, you see that vibration, right? It's vibrations, it's sounds, it's frequencies. It says, under the Trinity, we find the 9 angelic 4-voice choirs singing a 36-part canon, which is interesting to me because it's like the 369 Fibonacci sequence. We find 9 angelic 4-voice choirs singing a 36-part canon by Romano Micheli. So it's, again, these renderings right here, all this stuff is just very, we're trying to look more into this, right? Of what were they depicting? How did it connect? But what was super neat was where's the actual photo of the whole thing? I've got it somewhere. So, but anyways, this wheel, and it says, like, this is supposedly, these pipe organs supposedly was invented in like the 3rd century BC, but they used to run off water. But in this depiction, it's also this not only this wheel, it's not only controlling the pipe organ, but also this blacksmith table. It says this is a wonderful illustration of the hydraulic organ's mechanism and is shown driving several automata simultaneously, like the Pythagorean blacksmith on the left and the creatures dancing around the skeleton on the right. A closer inspection of the cylinder shows how it works, the perforations allowing poles to slip through, hence opening the pipe above. The names and the notes are clearly visible. An actual example of Kircher's design is still on display in Plaza, whatever, Rome. So it's like, these pipe organs not only were controlled, or not only this water that was supposedly funneled through like a waterfall controlled these, or was kind of the beginnings of these pipe, or the origins of these pipe organs in a way. Like they don't make them like that obviously anymore, but at one time they did. And not only did it's interesting that this wheel, this cylinder, not only controlled it, but it seems like it might have also done multiple things besides just creating sound. I found this interesting too, this, whatever this is. It says, this illustration below depicts a piazza listening device. The voices from the piazza are taken by the horn up through the mouth of the statue in the room on the piano nobile, above, allowing both espionage and the appearance of a miraculous event. So again, this is like a structure with this. I wonder how, if any of this is actually real. There's possibly real, possibly was a thing. Just like this pipe organ, because that depiction is not wrong. There's actual information to back that up. Oh, here it is. Here's the image I was looking for. I wonder if it'll bring it up any bigger. Try to blow. Oh, it's more about the same right there. Trying to find where that image was. We'll go back. But again, you have a Seder right here, and it's showing like this water coming in. There's the cylinder, and somehow, I don't know, I found it in a forum. It may have been this way right here. It says, I recently came across something that I absolutely cannot stop thinking about. I would love to hear Matt and Destin's take on it, especially after that accordion call. I don't know who Matt and Destin are. The something in question is the water organ or the hydraulic organ. It's a category of a pipe organ that uses water to move air through the pipes instead of relying on bellows. The Wikipedia page is a mess that conflates a few different types, and I've had tough time finding better info, but still interesting stuff. Apparently, pipe organs go back a lot further than I would have guessed. She's right. I looked it up as 300 BC. It had keys, stops, and pipes. People have built replicas based on archaeological finds and historical descriptions. I can't tell exactly what's going on with these. Somehow, air and water get pumped into the thing, and the rising water forces the air up and out of the pipes. I have yet to find a really solid explanation of what happens inside, and there might have been several different designs. What's even crazier, I think more interesting, are the water organs in Renaissance Italy. According to the Wikipedia page, there were several palaces that incorporated water organs into their gardens, but these relied on rivers and waterfalls. As I understand it, the falling water would move through a pipe that had holes in it, drawing air into the pipe because of the lower pressure there. That airflow then could be controlled by keyboards or a water wheel and a rotating drum. The drum would be shaped in such a way that would mechanically operate the organ. Apparently, some of these also move statues and such, which is just absolutely wild to me. There's that same kind of image. It looks like more in black and white. I have not been able to find any good photos of these, and there's basically nothing about them on YouTube that doesn't look like AI slop, but I did find some illustrations from a 1650 book, which is what we just went over, of Masurgia Universalis by Athanasius Kircher. They cannot possibly be realistic depictions, but they do communicate the basic idea. There it is. That's where it is blown up. That's a lot better picture. And so here's the organ. Here's the water coming in. It's somehow, it's just crazy to think. And it doesn't surprise me that this existed. Where do they get this depiction from? How would they depict this without, I'm not saying it's, it's that same guy in that same book talking about the harp and the lyre, and like those are real instruments. The organ is a real instrument. Why wouldn't this be a real a real instrument. But the interesting thing is however they designed this, it did more than just supply the sound for the organ, the pipe organ. It moved things. It moved tables. It moved statues. Like I said, we saw it with the blacksmith table. I mean, you can see the water comes on here. It rotates this wheel, which rotates this drum. And all of this in here, I have no idea. I'm not even going to pretend to know. I mean, it shows this thing being connected. Unreal. So like as this rotates, it's got something that's connected like a string or something of sorts that would also control this. Huh. Wow. And where are these at? Where did they go? Where are they at? Why is there nothing on this? So these things are mechanically fascinating, but I also can't help but wonder about the people who crafted them, paid for them, listened to them, maintained them, and why don't we have any now? Good stinking question. I want to see one. I want to hear what a waterfall-powered pipe organ sounds like. So do I. I probably described them poorly. May have misunderstood the way they work. I just figured if there's a corner of the internet where someone might appreciate these things or be able to straighten me out on them, this is it. You know what? No, I appreciate your post, whoever, from 4 months ago, Wonder of Stories. Well, guys, if I had just taken some more time to do some more digging, guess what? We found that water organ that I've been researching. There's one that remains. And man, is it something to see. But let's go to Wikipedia real quick. It just kind of talks about the water organs. There's some really interesting information on the mechanics of it. And it talks about many water organs had simple water pressure regulating devices, but at the Palazzo, which is what we're going to look at, the water flows from a hilltop spring. But what's cool is when you go into the history of it, I know it's been a long video, so I'm just trying to get through it. Look into this. I might do a video on the sounds at Vocal Memnon. So Vocal Memnon are these two huge colossus statues, and they broke in half through an earthquake supposedly in 20-something BC. They broke in half, and they sang a song. You would hear a song on occasion from these colossus statues. Okay, and they supposedly invented the hydraulic organ, of which none, again, they can't make these hydraulic organs anymore. But supposedly it was created to mimic the sound of whatever these huge colossus statues sounds they put out. That again, once that was after they broke in half, they made these sounds, and then supposedly the Romans went back and finished the statues at a later date, and so they don't make the sounds anymore. Well, what I was reading was about the most famous water organ of the 16th century was at this via. It stood about 6 meters high under an arch and was fed by a magnificent waterfall. It was described by whoever this cat is as playing madrigals and many other things. When somebody gives the order to play, at first one hears trumpets, which plays a while, and then there is a consonance. Countless gentlemen could not believe that this organ played by itself, according to the registers, with water, but they rather thought that there was somebody inside. So they had an automatic organ. There was a water organ fed by a waterfall that played a sound without a single person operating it. Besides automatically playing at least 3 pieces of music, it's now known that the organ was also provided with a keyboard. So then it goes on to talk about other water organs, and the only one that survives is the one we're about to look at, and it is incredible. If only I had just taken some extra time to do some more research. So let's take a look. This thing's awesome. I'm going to scroll to the top of the page, and it just kind of walks you through it. That's the wrong... Excuse me, I'm sorry. I don't want to waste your guys' time. I don't want to waste There it is. So this fountain of the organ, it's in Rome, and at the Palazzo del Quirinale palace. Here it is. The fountain hoses a hydraulic organ that still works today. This instrument plays thanks to a hydraulic system that uses the falling water to blow air into the pipes. And I encourage you guys to go check this out and just scroll down. It's incredible. You're looking at it. This stucco looking fountain is the water organ. And so there must be above it a waterfall that feeds down into this organ. I mean, you're looking at it right now. This is all part of the structure of this water organ. It says the fountain looks like a large recess. It is 48 feet high. Wow. In the mid-16th century, there used to be a lower fountain dug into the tough bank of the hill, accessible from the main garden via a complex system of stairs and pathways. Oh, I guarantee you it was a complex system. So it's a 43 foot high. The fountain is 43 feet high. And this is what I'm talking. This is what we're talking about. There was something so much greater here than us, so much more advanced than us to construct, to build. Was this a millennial reign instrument? I don't know, because when you get to looking at it, some of these depictions in the imagery, I don't know. So the vault dates back to the end of the 16th century, yada, yada, yada. We're going to skip that. Again, this is the ceiling. It looks like the ceiling. I'm trying to scroll up. Part of this is the detail. This is an organ. This is all part of this water organ. Look at the detail, people. My goodness. The colors. You can stop and look at this thing for hours, looking at every little detail. Looks like there's a bunch of satyrs and lyres and harps. There's some things that look like they're on both sides here. In 1596, the fountain was completed and decorated with stucco, enamel, rustic mosaics, and scenes from the life of Moses. Which makes me wonder. The works were completed by Pope Clement, looks like the 8th, as evidenced by the inscription in the oval medallion in the center of the vault. It just says, yeah. I hate when everything's in Latin. I can't read jack in Latin. Look at the colors, though. Look at these different colors. Like, how beautiful. How gorgeous. That looks like that cylinder in that image that we looked at. That's part of that cylinder. Yeah, because there's the strings. There's the strings that go up and control different parts of this organ, that it's not just music. Over the centuries, the organ's been restored several times, yada, yada, yada. In the 17th century, a complex device was also added to produce a surprising mechanical theater. Yeah, see, that's what we're talking about. It's doing more than just providing music. The current drive mechanism dates back to the first half of the 18th century and is based on the insertion of a toothed roller to which the movement of the keys is connected. As the water falls, the large metal cylinder starts up, which in turn lowers the key, making the instrument automatically play. As the water falls. Huh. It's like how do they tune that to play automatically and actually play a song using what? It's unreal. It can also be played directly by an organist. The current organ features a 41-note keyboard with 6 registers for a total of 246 pipes. Here's some more of the artistry of this fountain. Oh my goodness. And this is what makes you wonder, because you see all these faces and it's like we get so caught in between. Like, is it pagan? Is it millennial reign? Are these things? This is where we muddy the water with things. Like, were these Solomon's, you get stuck between like, oh, was this a millennial reign building? Or was this a pagan temple or pagan something that was Solomon the we talk about how Solomon's wisdom, and he could control the demons to build things for him, like through his witchcraft he was able to control demons and have them construct things. Is that what these are? Is that what some of this is? Does it date back to that? Does that instruction or whatever you want to call it, I can call it wisdom or knowledge being passed down? It's still fully working today. In 2004, to mark the end of a series of conservation interventions across the entire complex, a concert was organized for the first time since the unification of Italy at the Fountain of the Organ. The nozzles for the waterworks are located on the floor, arranged in a small pebble mosaic. They are connected to a device within the organ room. They date back to the pontificate of Clement VIII. So, arranged in a small pebble mosaic. We could never, I don't want to say we could never, but could we ever reconstruct something like this today? I mean, honestly. In the past, it talks about, it says, such as in June 1601, when after lunch, the Persian, after lunch, I like how he had these details. Like, on 1601, after lunch, the Persian ambassador and other guests were soaked by the original water features spouting from the floor, which they very much enjoyed. Like, where do you get this? Where is this coming from? Where is the information? Well, we know that. Wow. Wow, oh wow. Depicting this is followed by a second order decorated with painted stucco basic reliefs depicting marine divinities and aquatic animals. They say this is Moses, I think, right here in the next page. But it's like you have so much going on. There's so much to look at. Does this go back to Jabal? Jabal, the inventor of the lyre and the harp. Like, this looks very Sun Apollo-ish right here. Are these, or is this the opposite? Are these depicting angels? Which may infer that this could be a millennial reign instrument. It's so hard. Sometimes that's where I get confused in this research with people, because some say they're pagan, some say they're millennial reign. What are they? And so sometimes, the faces look so, some of these depictions, like, they're very creepy. That's creepy. Beautiful. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed something. The third order ends in the large vault and consists of panels in which episodes from the story of Moses, alternating with figures of virtue, are depicted using mixed techniques like mosaics, painted stucco, glass mosaics. At the top of the vault, the stories of creation adorn the upper band of the triumphal arch. So that's what makes you wonder, That makes you wonder if this is... could this have been? But then you have this Pope Clement, the 8th, or it says Pope, but it says I'm not sure what PONSVI. I don't know what that means. Does that mean Pope? Is that Latin for Pope? I had to do some more digging. As you see Clemens. Yeah, you see Clemens the Eighth. Clearly, but look at the detail. And then you have this other room. On the right side of the main body of the fountain, there's a small room that houses a group of statues representing the Forge of Vulcan. It's set in a tough grotto with the god and several cyclops concentratedly forging weapons in a furnace. I mean, this is all part of this fountain. I wonder if these move. Well, I don't think they do, but I was wondering if these are part of the... Because in the depiction on the other research we was looking at, which I don't have it right here, of course, but it was depicting that there were statues that were connected that may have rotated or moved within as part of the design. Statues date back to the 17th century and come from the collections of the Cibo di Massa family. In 1773, they became part of the papal property, and at the end of the same century, they were transferred to this palace where the spectacular setup was created. So this was added after, they're saying. Like this, again, and this is kind of weird, you know, this guy's missing an arm. Of course, they got to show whatever, like, is this a boy? Is this supposed to be a young boy? It's like... Anyways, very, very, very interesting, very neat. I encourage you guys to check this page out, Google Arts and Culture, the Fountain of the Organ Palazzo. So, anyways, found that after I was editing my video. I'm like, well, I gotta add this in. So, alright guys, have a good night.